Welcome to Super Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today, I am excited to welcome Neal Bawa. Neal is known as the mad scientist of multifamily, and for a good reason. He's a technologist turned real estate expert who leads two major investment companies, Grow Capitus and YouGrow, with a portfolio valued at over $1 billion. What really sets Neal apart is his data driven approach to real estate. He's passionate about using technology and analytics to make smarter, more efficient decisions. And his methods are transforming how people think about investing. Neal's also a speaker, a well sought after speaker, and a educator, sharing his insights with thousands of investors every year. Welcome to our show, Neal.
Thanks for having me on the show. I'm very excited to be here, Shade.
It was great to have you. So you started in the tech world and then moved into real estate where you're making a lot of big impact. What skills or thought patterns or way of thinking that helped you from your tech background in real estate and how it could help others in similar ways?
I think a lot of the skills that you bring from the technology world. I was running a company, I was growing it. When I started with the company in 1999, the division that I was working for was 10 employees. When we sold the company 14 years later, it had 300 plus employees. It's about loving what you do. It's about growing your business. It's about being metrics and data driven. I think that I've always been the kind of guy that tells my staff, tells my people, imagine the stupidest CEO you've ever seen, right? That's me. I want you to give me massive amounts of data, but I want you to break it down into visual chunks. So I don't allow Excel spreadsheets to be sent to me. I always have them add a tab, an executive dashboard tab at the beginning, and I say, I only will open and look at this. Don't ever expect me to look at the data. What I want is visualization that allows me to make good, effective decisions. And it allows me to do it in a second. When you look at a car dashboard, you're supposed to have 1/5 of a second to look down and then look back at the road, because if you look for 2 seconds, you're going to go hit somebody. So a dashboard is supposed to be instant. And so I've really made my career on continuously making my people accountable, whether they're in real estate or in technology or operations, marketing, sales, accountable. And accountable not just by sending data to me, but also accountable by having data published in a Slack channel. Back then, we used to do it over email. Now everything's done through Slack, where on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual basis, we have over 400 reports that very transparently show us the people that are performing and the people that are not performing, right? And that is a huge benefit to any of my companies. And I bring that from technology, right? We use a software called Google Looker Studio that builds dozens or hundreds of different dashboards for us. And that gives me a clear visibility into how my properties are doing. What's the efficiency of leasing? What's the efficiency of renewals? What's happening with the development projects? Is everything going on track? And I find that people don't do that often enough. Everyone claims to be an expert at Excel. I will actually claim I'm not one. I used to be an Excel expert maybe 15, 20 years ago, and I don't write formulas anymore.
Before we continue, let me take 60 seconds to tell you about Multifamily University. Are you ready to take your real estate investing to the next level? Look no further than Multifamily University. Our comprehensive resources, including guest podcast appearances, educational webinars, the Real Estate Trends Toolkit, and the Location Magic course, are all designed to make smart investing easy and accessible. Plus, with no subscriptions, no upsells, you can trust that we're always looking out for your best interests. But don't take our word for it. Check out what our satisfied customer, Carlos M., had to say. Neal's presentation was filled with invaluable information that is not readily available to the average investor. This group takes you to the elite level of investing. Join the ranks of the elite with Multifamily University. Join us at multifamilyu.com and start investing from a place of knowledge today. Not only will you have access to a wealth of knowledge from industry experts, but you'll also be able to stay ahead of the game with our in-depth analysis of market trends and potential recessions or corrections. Invest with confidence and make informed decisions based on data, not gut feel. Don't miss out. Visit us at multifamilyu.com today or click the link in the description below. And now, back to the content.
I'm an executive. My job is to take $300+ million from my investors and invest it properly in prudent projects that make sense. And so to do that, I don't need to write Excel formulas. I don't need to be very good at Excel or even analyzing Excel. What I need to be good at is ensuring that those Excel spreadsheets are correct and then gleaning insights from there and creating systems and processes to improve my business. This is no different from tech and real estate. And that's really what I do. I tell people data beats gut feel by a million miles. That's my first mantra. Data beats gut feel by a million miles because people have too much focus on gut feel and I don't like it. And the second is you can only manage what you can measure. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. You have this delusion that you're managing something if you're not measuring it. And measuring something once has no value. What you have to do is measure it and then say, okay, is this something I want to measure weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually? What is the appropriate time frame? And then you should basically be able to benchmark it from all previous measurements. So we do not create snapshots. We hate them. A snapshot only shows you what happens today or this week or this month. We compare it against everything else. And we have budget versus actual for everything. A lot of people Shahid, think that budget versus actual is something that you do for dollar numbers. What are my budgeted rents versus my actual rents? What's my budgeted construction cost versus actual construction cost? That's such a terrible concept, but it's stuck in people's head and you have to get it out. There should be a budget versus actual for everything. We have a budget versus actual for how many leads a property should get this week. How many of those leads should turn into appointments? How many of those appointments should turn into shows? How many of those shows should turn into applications? And how many of those applications should turn into leases? This is called LASAL or LASAL. Leads, appointments, shows, applications, leases. LASAL. So not only do you need to track all 5 of these numbers, LASAL, you also need to track the ratio between them. We call that L to A to S to A to L. Those ratios then need to have a budget. This is your budgeted number. Shahid, you're a property manager. You're a leasing agent at one of my properties. Let's say it's a $200 million property that I bought for $30 million. And Shahid's job is that when Shahid gets 10 people in a week that are shows, out of those 5 need to turn into apps. Therefore, the L2, the show to application ratio is 50%. Half of the people that came in and saw the property should turn into applications. And I'm going to track that, and there's going to be a budget. And your performance is it has to be 50%. You can be lower one week, but then next week you got to be higher. So over a month time frame, you got to be at 50% or more of your shows turning into applications. So that's a budget. But the word budget, most people think of it as tied to dollar numbers. And that's the problem. Every aspect of your business, every metric that makes you money and makes your investors money has to continuously, on an ongoing basis, be measured, tracked with a budget and an actual, and everything has to be visual. Long answer to your question, but that's fundamentally how you run any business.
I know. I like your answer, Neal. Bottom line is the data is everything in every aspect of the business. It's not just looking at the numbers, but even the leads and even the customer experience, whatever it is, everything has a data point.
Yes, and I hate using the word data there, even though my own mantra is data beats gut feel by a million miles. I find that a lot of people have data. I actually believe that analytics is important. Analytics is a process of taking raw data and turning it into actionable action items. Analytics is visual. Analytics is trend charts. Analytics is, the blue line and the red line. Keep the red line above the blue line or keep the blue line above the red line. That kind of messaging is key. And it makes people accountable on an ongoing basis. Hey, why is the red line below the blue line this week? Right? So what happened?
So with the data and making that data analytical, painting a picture that can be understood very quickly is the key, because it's not just gathering the data, but actually seeing what the data is saying And you're mentioning a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people have data, but what are they doing with that data? Now, if you're looking at ChatGPT, for example, artificial intelligence, what you're doing is going to be a common ground for most in the future, correct?
I think so. I think that
Yeah.
this is easier today than it's ever been, and it's cheaper today
Yeah.
than it's ever been. For
Mm.
example, we are standardized on an analytics visualization tool called Google Looker Studio. Believe it or not,
Mhm.
we've been using it for 6 years, and we paid 6 zeros. We paid nothing. We paid no money. Looker Studio has more enhanced levels with more enhanced features. I've never felt the need to use them. So I continue to pay $0 for Looker Studio and use it. It's a visualization tool. There's also a paid tool called Tableau. Tableau is very popular in the industry. A lot of people use it. These tools are child's play to use today for three reasons. Number one, they're much cheaper. So a tool like Tableau would
Mhm.
probably cost 10 times what it costs today 20 years ago, right? And I used to pay that. So I'm just shocked by how cheap these tools are because everything's subscription based. Number two, the staff that is available to work on Looker Studio or Tableau is very cheap, right? So we pay $8.50 to a team in India that is our Looker Studio team. And I don't go and look at Looker Studio code. I don't think anybody should do that. Nobody in my company does that. What we do is we go into meetings and we talk about how the visualization should change. What are we really looking for? We do a brain dump, and all of our meetings, we have an AI tool called Fathom that is recording the meeting
Yeah.
and creating action items. At the end of the meeting, we send the Fathom summary of everything that we've said along with the recording. It's a web page that Fathom creates. We just
Mhm.
click that link and we send it to our team in India and say, this is what needs to happen. And boom, a new version of Looker Studio comes out at $8.50 an hour, right? And then and then the last thing that makes things much easier today than compared to 6 months or compared to 2.5 years ago, actually 2 years and 2 days ago. So my world changed on November 30th, 2022. I consider myself an extreme power user of ChatGPT. I use it 15 to 20 times a day, and I use it almost exclusively for my business, even though yesterday I was researching a luxury vacation in Vietnam and Cambodia using ChatGPT, and I was doing a great job on that. What ChatGPT does is it allows you to structure your ideas and thoughts
Mhm.
into beautiful specs that you send out to your team members. So here's what I do. This is my process, and I do it 20 or 30 times a day. So on my phone, I'll tap on ChatGPT. I'll tap the new icon. Once I've tapped the new icon, I will hit the voice button, right? Voice typing, just regular voice typing, and I will speak. I usually speak for 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. I walk around while I'm doing it. That's how I get my steps. A circuit behind me. This is a big office. And so I walk around and I share my thoughts, even completely unstructured, Shahid. I'm not trying to be structured. I'm just trying to get stuff out of my head. What is absolutely brilliant about ChatGPT 4.0 is it figures out that I'm being unstructured and then it structures me. So after speaking for 4 to 5 minutes, I give it a set of instructions. I always include team members, time frames. I include what the end result is likely to be, what the dashboards are going to be, what do the dashboards visually look like for any project. And then when I'm done, I say, convert this into a professional spec. I actually have some words that ChatGPT knows that I've saved permanently into its memory. So it knows that it's an analytics expert and blah, blah, blah. These are called prompts. So I have a very professional prompt added permanently
Mhm.
into ChatGPT's memory. So it does a very good job. It produces a document. I convert it into Microsoft Word. It does that, by the way. And then I edit it, but I never ever send it to a team member. Let's say Shahid is my team member on leasing up a property, or maybe Shahid is in the development team, I'm building a property. I never send that document to Shahid because the way to create scalable companies is to have an intermediary. Who is my intermediary? His name is Afzal, AFZAL. Afzal lives in Pakistan and is PMI certified, which is the Project Management Institute certification. It takes about 8 years to get that certification. It's very hard. So he's obviously a great project manager. I only send the document to him, and then I CC all of the people that are supposed to be team members, including Shahid. I CC them. I send that to my project manager, and within 30 minutes, my project manager reads the entire multi-page document, throws it into ChatGPT. ChatGPT creates a set of Asana tasks. We use Asana as our project management software, and a Slack channel pops up. It's a new Slack channel created for this project. Everybody that's I've mentioned as team members, including Shahid, are all in the Slack channel. The document that I sent out is now pinned to the Slack channel, so it's easy to find. And all of the Asana tasks that have just been created by my project manager for this task, including dates and names of people, are posted to the Slack channel. And now each week, the project manager will go in and visually update those tasks. Green checkbox are good. Red crosses are bad. So visually, I can see how the project is going, whether it's running properly or not. By not sending it to team members, but by sending it to a project manager, I ensure that somebody is always chasing this, and I never have to chase it again.
Good. Excellent. You have a system in place. And to find
System,
people in
yeah.
India and Pakistan is a struggle as well. And seems like you have created a team that you can rely on, right?
I tried to hire from companies and it didn't work. So I eventually created my own company. So I own a company in the Philippines that has 22 full-time people. Pakistan is a unique one in that for some reason they have great project managers. PMI Institute has a large following in Pakistan. My accountants are always from India. My project managers are always from Pakistan. And all of my virtual staff, which is full-time staff, 8 hours a day, they get healthcare. They get 4 weeks off a year. I pay them more than market. Those are all in the Philippines. And then my hackers, my coders are from Ukraine. So
Yeah,
I find that this structure works really well. So what allows me to do is to scale all of my different businesses. So these services are not inside of a company. They're spread around all of my companies. So all of my companies benefit from these resources.
Good. And you speak about build to rent model, and you say it's the future of real estate.
It is.
Can you explain why is such a strong investment opportunity, and how can investors prepare or start dipping their toe in this?
Yes. So I think most people are aware that the United States is not building enough apartments, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not building enough rental product, and we're not building enough homes to sell to homeowners. But here are the numbers that are truly shocking. There was already a problem before COVID, but one day before COVID, the United States was still in a good place for young Americans and young American families to eventually become homeowners. We were still in a good place. People had a real shot. They don't anymore. In the last 4.5 years since COVID started, home prices in the United States are up about 50%. The average mortgage, Shahid, is up 111%. Why? Because interest rates have gone up and home prices have gone up. So when a home prices go up by 50%, interest rates double, your mortgage in the United States has in 4.5 years is up 111%. But salaries in the United States are only up 19.6%. So your salary is up 20%, your mortgage is up 111%. So in the last 4 years, 18 million American families have become forever renters. And these are not lower income people. I'm not talking about people that earn 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, or 60,000. I'm talking about people that earn somewhere between $60,000 and $90,000 in mid markets. Obviously in San Francisco or New York, they earn more. But typically this $60,000 to $90,000 per family income level used to eventually become homeowners. They would save up for years and become homeowners. But with home prices going up 50%, mortgages doubling or close to doubling, 18 million of these families have become forever renters. This is the largest increase in renters in US history ever. Nothing else comes close. And I don't expect that to change because we are not seeing any decrease in home prices. Throughout this 2.5 year long interest rate crisis, we have not seen any decrease in home prices in the United States. We have seen individual markets like Austin go down, Phoenix go down, and a lot of the markets that have a very large amount of incoming supply of multifamily did see some decline in home prices, but small ones. Like, I don't know of any market that's declined more than 10%. I think Austin's declined about 9%. Most markets that have declined 2 or 3%. But first they went up 50%, and then they went down 2 or 3%. So the net gain was still 47, 48%. Even Austin, which has declined the most, the net gain is from since COVID is still 36%. So that's a huge number. Bottom line is that these Americans, these mid-market Americans, they were never the renter types. They were always looking for that starter single-family home. and they no longer have that within their reach. So now we have a new class of people in America, roughly 18 million people, who do not want to live in apartments. They have plenty of money to live in apartments. If you have a $70,000 or $80,000 income, you can pay $1,800 for a nice apartment. And I'm talking about even a Class A apartment. So you can live in a nice Class A apartment, pay $1,800, maybe even $2,000 a month. That's $24,000 a year, and you're making 70 plus thousand, so you'll qualify, right? But they don't want to live there, Shahid. They want the American dream of homeownership, which they've lost. So a new class has emerged to take care of these mid-market families. They're not lower income, they're not upper income, they're mid-market. And that is called build to rent. What build to rent does is, instead of building fancy apartment complexes, and I've built plenty of those, I have thousands of units with infinity pools and rooftop pools, sexy apartments. Yeah, plenty of people like them, Shahid, but not these people. What these people want is they want something that looks and feels like a single family home, which means three things. There could be 30, but these three are the most important. Number one, at least one car garage. Two, if possible. Number two, nobody living above and below you. Number three, a backyard, nobody above and below you, and a garage. That is a single family dream. That dream is lost. I can't bring it back. I'm not a politician, so I can't bring it back. So what my company is doing is building 10,000 townhomes for rent. So everybody has a garage. Everybody has a backyard. Everybody has nobody running above and below them. No long hallway with the smell of marijuanas. No fear that the neighbor's Rottweiler will bite you. That's build to rent. It is not apartments, even though it's rental, but it looks like single family homes. They do share a wall on each side, but 99% of the noise comes when people run above you or below you. It's not from the side. So imagine groups of townhomes in communities of 100 to 200 townhomes. Some of them, if they're 200, even have a pool, even have a gym. So what single family home is going to get a pool or a gym when your income is under 85K? It's not going to happen. You're not going to buy a single family home with a gym. So having a gym, having a pool, having a clubhouse there, and still having a home that you live in is amazing. Now, I'm not bashing apartments. I have made my career with apartments. I continue to buy apartments. There's a lot more people in that 60,000 and below income that have to go to apartments. So not bashing apartments at all. But apartments are not a new opportunity. Apartments are expensive. Everybody's seen that. We're paying up for them even today with all these interest rates going up. Apartments are really expensive. Build to rent, though, is brand new. This asset class, only in 2024 and 2023 have we had substantial amounts of delivery of these townhome type products. Before that, it was a very small asset class. Now it's beginning to scale. I think for the next 10 years, build to rent, especially townhomes for rent, are the new apartment. They are what America wants.
So why does it say build to rent? Isn't it basically rental units? Is there a specific reason why it's built? Does it mean they have ownership in that?
They don't have ownership. And I think it's a terrible name, Shahid. I wish that I could change the name to something else, because technically, if you build to rent, that's also true of apartments. Don't you think that every time somebody builds an apartment, they're building something to rent it? So the name itself is very unfortunate. BTR, or build to rent, is not a very descriptive name. But if I had to come up, I don't know how to come up with a short name. It's single family or townhomes that are built from scratch in large communities just for rentals. We've been building apartments for rent for nearly 100 years, but nobody was building large scale communities that are single family or townhomes, keeping rents in mind. What developers do is they build a community of 300 homes and they sell each of those homes. Or they build 200 townhomes and they sell each of them. But no one has actually built townhomes or single family in large community, keeping from the very beginning rentals in mind, rental product, rental levels of finishes, rental heights of ceilings. And that's what's new. That we are now beginning to understand that in America, you had two choices. You could go buy a single family home or rent an apartment. Those were your two choices.
Now you have a third option.
Now you have a third option in the middle, which is that you can rent something that's a townhome or a single family for rent in a community where everyone is a renter.
And how does the
Everyone's a
investment,
renter.
how does the investment look for that? Is it a fund that you're running for
So
that, or?
we're definitely running a fund. We also have individual projects. Some people like investing in funds. Some people like investing in individual projects. So both are available. But to answer your question, Shahid, what makes build to rent more compelling than apartments? And I do both. If you go to my website, you'll notice I'm also building plenty of apartments. Why would I ever stop building apartments as long as there's a need? What build to rent is better at? In my apartments, on average, people stay for 2 years. In my build to rent communities, they stay for 4 years.
Mhm.
Because when I do surveys, my apartment people, if I ask them this question, is this your home? Is this your home? Most people say no. If I conduct that survey
Good
in
point.
my townhome communities and I ask, is this your home? Most people say yes. That's the difference. The mindset is
Mm.
different. Here in my apartments, you're getting more amenities, infinity pools and gyms and all kinds of amenities. A lot of my townhome communities don't have any pools. They don't have gyms, but they have something that Americans want, a home.
No, that's
And
great.
that's why it's very compelling from a profit perspective, because we all know, being in the real estate business, the biggest enemy of profit in real estate is turnover, churn.
Yeah, churn.
When you have people turning over, you lose a month's worth of rent, sometimes two. You have to pay lease up fees. You have to clean up the property. You have to repaint the property. So property where people turn over every 2 years is never going to be anywhere near as profitable as a property where people
Yeah.
turn over every 4 years. Also because rents go up, and eventually by raising rents 3, 4, 5% every year, you eventually end up with people above market, right? And they know that they're 5%, 7% above market, but nobody leaves because of the last 5%, because the hassle of leaving, the cost of
Yeah,
moving
for sure.
is too much. So you can get to 5, 6, 7% over market, but you can only do that if people are staying for a longer amount of time, not 1 or 2 years.
No, this is great, Neal. I hear the passion in your voice and what you're doing, and you created this new class. Definitely, it will require uniqueness when it comes to what it provides uniqueness to someone who's in the market. If someone has to rent, they want, and this is like you mentioned, a mindset. This is a psychological thing. Is when they're renting a place with a garage and a backyard, it's the feeling you get about your kids, what they feel where they are. They don't feel that, okay, we're just in the interim here and we're going to move on. They start feeling like it's a home as well. And that emotional state, 4 years, as you're saying, is an average, but I could see it being going even a lifetime, for example, because if that's a home, it's a home.
We have some customers that have not left our build to rent communities since the time that the communities were built.
Yeah,
That
I
does not
believe it.
happen in our apartments very often at all.
No.
It happens, but it's very rare.
Yeah.
People don't stay for very long because they think that an apartment is just part of their their path to their destination.
Yeah.
Where the townhomes are filled with people that
Means to an
think,
end.
okay, I want to live here for 10 years. They make friends. One other thing that we see in our apartment communities, even though the person next to you is 20 feet away, we don't find a lot of interaction between people. Okay? You might know one other neighbor or two other neighbors. But in our townhome communities, because people walk out to gather them, to grab the mail from their mailbox, they have their cars parked on the driveways, the interaction between neighbors is much higher. And so we are
Much
finding
higher,
that
for
community forming is much higher in those communities. And that's what America wants. We have plenty of land in America. Construction is very difficult here, but we have plenty of land. Why should we go the European route of having these apartments everywhere? I think we have a third option. We should take it. And so I'm very excited about that. The company that's building it is called mission10k.com, mission10k.com. And their mission is to build 10,000 townhomes over the next 4 years. We're making great progress. We have over 2,000 units in the pipeline. We think that these are the most profitable projects that we are ever going to work on.
Great. Appreciate it, Neal. It was great talking to you today. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate what you shared and some golden nuggets for investors to get a nudge into this direction and see what you're doing, what you're working on. By the way, is this company yours? Is organization, the 10,000K?
It's an organization. We have 246 investors in Mission 10K. I am the largest investor. I'm largest shareholder and also CEO of the company, but it is not my company.
Good. Excellent, Neal. Appreciate it. Thank you, and keep in touch.